Hi, I'm Kathy Lincoln, and I'm coming to you from Artistic Artifacts, and we're going to play with Pintuck Feet today, and we're going to explore the possibilities of doing things besides just pin tucks. So let's start with the foot and how to use the foot. Most Pintuck feet, you use a double needle. So this is, let me take this one off. This is the 5 groove. This is the 7 groove, and you can see here in the big book of feet, and if you don't have this, you really should have it. You have a 3 groove, a 5 groove, a 7 groove, and a 9 groove. Now the 7 and 9 grooves are for very lightweight fabric. If you are into heirloom sewing, they're perfect for that. Absolutely perfect. The 30, which is the 3 groove, that is really designed for heavier fabric and for cording your pin tucks. The 5 groove, I think, is the most versatile. You can use it with quilting fabrics, lighter home deck fabrics. You can use it on your ready-to-wear to customize your ready-to-wear clothes. And you can do all your home deck projects with it. So let me put that aside. This is what our inspiration was for today. This pattern is a Atkinson Design pattern. And what I did is I took the strips and I customized them using the Pintuck foot. And you'll notice that in one of my strips I have the pin tucks going in a crosshatch pattern, because you can. This is the pattern that I used. Now you have to play with the pattern a little bit, because the sheer fact of pin tucking will shrink your fabric. So don't cut the strips that you need to cut to the right size until after you have pin tucked them. So cut them a little larger and then cut them down, and then they'll fit in, and you just follow the rest of the instructions. Also, you'll notice in the edge of my binding here, I use the Pintuck foot to create piping using the hot piping tool. So the Pintuck foot is not just for pin tucks. You can use all kinds of things with it. So let me get that out of the way. And I can show you, this is just a sample that I have made, decades ago. But this is where you can insert your Pintuck fabric that you have made into a project. And this is just using the Pintuck foot and the hot piping tool. Now you have to be able to put the foot on and thread the machine for a double needle. So I'm going to sit down, and Judy is going to film over my shoulder. When you decide which Pintuck foot you're going to use, you need to decide which size double needle you're going to use. And the easiest way to do that is to take your needle and lay it in your grooves. I don't know if you can see that.
Kind of, yeah. And we also, if you put, go to the website and shop Pintuck Feet, which we've actually put the needles that are the closest fit that we have double needles on as a related item. So you can buy the foot and go to the double needle as well.
Yeah. So having the right double needle is very helpful, because then you get the right size pin tuck. So I'm not going to be using the 7 today. I am going to be using the, whoops, I just used the wrong one. Okay. I'm going to be using the 5 groove, and I'm going to be using a 2.5 millimeter double needle. Now on the package you'll see it has the size, and that's 2.5 millimeters between the needles themselves. The rest of the world works on the metric. We need to catch up. Now to put your needle in, It is just like any other needle because it has a single shaft. So you just put it up into the shaft.
And what's important is you don't want to hand tighten the needle, you do want to use the tool that comes with the Bernina machines to tighten that needle in.
And you don't want to over tighten it, but you want to make sure it's firm.
Yeah, otherwise it'll drop.
And that's not a pleasant experience.
Nope, it's not.
I've had that happen.
Me too.
So the other thing you have to do is, because we have this great machine that has a security program on it, we're going to use that security program to help prevent us from breaking that needle. So I've already selected the foot, the number 31 foot. Now I'm going to go to my security program and I'm going to select that needle. And you'll notice that now it shows that needle up here. And I need to make sure I have my 9mm stitch plate selected, or my 5.5mm stitch plate selected. I have the 9 because that's what I have on. You cannot use a double needle with a straight stitch plate for very obvious reasons. It will break. And these are expensive needles. They come 1 to a pack. And you'll see now it shows that I have a double needle in.
And this is, you're using the 770 Plus Kaffe Special Edition,
which is just gorgeous.
Absolutely. And in stock and ready to go home with you.
Yes. So when you have a double needle, you have to also put on 2 spools of thread. And your machine is already set up for that. In here, while the foot is up, there are, and you can just barely see this little metal tongue here. These are your tension wheels, so we're going to put 1 thread on one side and the other thread on the other side.
Yeah, I kind of can. All right, yeah, we can see that a little bit better.
Yeah, it's hard to see. Oops, let's close that. And you have 2 spool pins on your machine. When you use the vertical one, make sure you use this little clip, because what that does is it keeps the thread flowing correctly in the right direction and not wrapping around your hand wheel. You also cannot use your needle threader.
Aww.
I know, that makes me sad too. But let me show you a quick trick. When you can put the foot down, and then see this white space on your foot. It will allow you to see the thread go through the eye, and you can actually see the eye better.
Maybe.
I do it all the time. I also need to I got a fuzzy end. Fuzzy ends are not good.
No comments yet.
Okay. Actually, I have to take my glasses off because I need to go see the eye doctor and get a new prescription. There we go. Now, since I have not threaded the second one, I need to raise my foot up so that I can get this second thread into the tension wheels. And I'm going to go on the other side of that wheel. If you end up on the same side, it is not a crisis. It just works a little bit better if you get them on opposite sides. extra thread. So I have my strip, like this strip here. Let me grab my glasses out of the way. And on this I used a light and a dark or medium thread color. So you can see it better, I'm using two very dark threads that I might not normally use because it clashes with the rest of the fabric, but I wanted you to be able to see what I was doing. Now for the first one, you need to mark it. And I'm not sure you can really see that well.
Hold on, I get back. Okay, so you marked that with a pencil or chalk.
I use chalk, but you can use the Clover white marker. You can use any of your pencils. Anything you can see on your fabric that will brush away or go away. I don't tend to use the washaways because this may not get washed. Mm-hmm. I may not let my husband use them. So that's going to be my first pass. And so I'm putting that between the opening.
Where that line is.
Yep, the line is between the opening. Because I want to be as straight as possible. You're not going to have perfection, but it's going to be just fine. And I'm making the first pass. And then I'm going to use the other grooves let's raise up the foot, pull it, and now you can see, let me put it in the light there, you can see it better. It has drawn up and it's made a nice pin tuck.
And it looks like it has string through it or whatever, so it's
cording,
done without it cording.
Without cording. Cording is quite easy, but I'm not going to demonstrate that today. If you find that it's not drawing up enough, what you can do is you can raise your upper tension just a hair. Now I'm going to put the groove, the outside groove here, on this, let me put the foot down so you can see it. I'm using the groove to run the next one. You can either do them very close together or a little further apart. I like them a little further apart so that they're actually visible. If I'm going to do this much work, I want everyone to see it. Whoops, and every once in a while you run off track. That's why you start bigger and you can cut down. Okay, let me raise up my foot. And you can keep on going. Now this time I think I would run it on the other side. Mm-hmm. Let's put it down. Let me put it down the rest of the way. I'm not going to stitch this, so you know how to stitch this, but this is how I would go on the other side now. And you can use a contrasting thread like this so that you can then have a more pronounced pin tuck. But you can also do things like, let me lift this, using your pin tuck foot and the cording, this very thin cording. This is basically Roman shade cording. It's very thin. It's a nylon, it's just basically piping, nylon piping. And when you go around a curve like this, you're going to want to use bias. So I had made continuous bias, and you can see it stretches.
June wants to know what you're using in the bobbin.
Oh, I'm just using regular bobbin thread. I'm using Deco Bob.
The 80 weight Deco Bob.
Right, that's what I'm using. But now I need to change from using a double needle to a single needle. Let's see if I grab the right one. There we go. And so I'm going to take out my double needle and I'm going to put back in my single needle.
While Kathy's doing that, we're going to show you a little bit. The new 570 Kaffe Edition has arrived. It's got a little bit different faceplate. 5 series gives you the dual feed, the embroidery module, special stitches. This was launched in Europe, so it's now with us in the US. So Artistic Artifacts has the full line of Kaffe special editions. The 770 and the 475 are in stock, ready to go, competitive pricing, and available for you. This is the 475, which is a 5.5 millimeter, but it does have the large bobbin as well and the great body color. So this one is all over turquoise, which is quite fun. But the 5 is here. Come by and see it. It's lots of fun. And Kathy and Barbara and I will be at Bernina University next week, so hopefully we'll be popping on live at different places, which also means recording, and we'll show you what's happening at Bernina University.
So I am just going to put in my piping inside my bias tape here. And just get it in there. And I am going, oops, I need to flip it the other direction here. I'm going to use the inside. Let me put that down the rest way. I'm going to use this groove, the one that's just right next to the opening. I'll be stitching the opening, and I will not be stitching as close as I will when I finally do the final insertion. Because you have this opening here, you can move your needle. Oh, and I need to tell it I don't have a double needle in anymore. That's why it's very handy to have it turn yellow for you.
So you don't stitch right up next to the cording. You give yourself a little space, because when you go to put it on your finished piece, you need space to cover your, kind of you're basting your piping in place right now, aren't you?
Exactly. And I started too close to the edge. So let's just...
Gee, that never happens to me.
There we go. Oh, and it helps if I don't step on the cording.
Oh yeah, kind of gives you a little bit of a drag. Okay.
So this...
There we go.
And you can make sure your cording is in the right place. And you'll see this is bigger than I need it to be because I'm going to cut it down.
You mean the fabric that you've wrapped around the cord?
Exactly.
Yes, okay.
So you'll see that it's in there, but it's not tight. That way when I go to do this insertion, I can move my needle over.
And then you've covered your basting stitches.
Then I have covered my basting stitches, yes, exactly. And see, when you cut it down, this is a piece that has been cut down, and it still has
Sorry,
a little...
getting a little wobbly there. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. So you can see, I'm going to put against the white here.
Okay.
You can see that it's been cut down using the hot piping tool, which is a very cool tool, and it runs right along this piping. And you use your rotary cutter and mat. And you still have space here, so when I go to insert it, I literally will just move my needle over. Whoops, that's why it was wobbly. I accidentally bumped the knob. And that way it will, actually I probably will go over just 2.
Mm-hmm.
and that way it will catch it and you won't see the stitching
Right.
on the piping. Now the kinds of things that you can do besides, let me uncover the placemat because it's really kind of fun. And you'll see that this looks like plaid. This particular pattern in the instructions is called plaid. But I embellished it just a little bit to give it a little more pizzazz. And I used the colors that were in my main fabric. After I did the pin tucking, I then cut them down to the right size and I followed the instructions according to pattern until I got to the piping, and then I just, because I can, I added a little extra zhuzh to it. So you have choices of the 3, 5, 7, or 9 pin tuck foot, depending upon what you're working on, what fabric you're working on. You can cord them, you can create cross hatching with them. In the big book of feet, there's all kinds of wonderful ideas on how to use this. If you don't have that book, you really do want it, because it will teach you how to use all those feet that you now have, that you've been collecting, but you don't know what to do with. So are there any more questions?
Nope, everybody's just watching.
Okay.
So they're going to leave the video and go find their Pintuck Feet and try it. And,
yes, and
play
have
with
fun.
It. Yeah.
But the hot piping tool with the Pintuck foot, it's a marriage made in heaven.
It is. It's a very good tool. All right.
Okay. Have a great day sewing.